Good morning, great Americans. It's another great American video from the bunker in Kentucky. Once again, I am reacting to a news story, and usually I don't have a script. I usually go unscripted, but today I thought I would do something a little different and actually make a few notes here. I still don't have a script, but I did jot down a few notes that I'm going to refer to on this topic because I think it's very important. And it really makes me angry that almost everybody on both sides of the aisle make this common mistake. And I don't know why, because a simple check will prove that this is wrong. Anyway, Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's an article out from Fox that just came onto the my feed. It says Schwarzenegger declares he is still a traditional Republican while the GOP has changed around him. Now we've heard this a lot, especially from people on the left who say, "Oh, the Republican Party has just gone extreme to the right and blah blah blah." It's all a big lie. It is a lie. In fact, generally speaking, Trump's policies and agenda are exactly like Ronald Reagan's, and that was 45 years ago. Now, over that 45 years, we have seen the left and the Democrats just go off the rails and off the road to the extreme left. 45 years ago, you would have never, not only would you have never heard of transgenderism and pronouns and women and transgender and women's sports and all this garbage, but you didn't even hear about. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, the word transgender didn't even exist 45 years ago. But I mean, on all of these policies, whether it's socialism, communism under the disguise of green energy, whether it's transgenderism, gay marriage, especially social, a lot of economic issues, but especially social issues. It is, in fact, the Democrats that have gone to the extreme left, while Republicans are pretty much the same. We haven't changed since the time of Ronald Reagan. Our opinion about marriage and family and conservatism and capitalism and free markets and lower taxes still the same. Nothing has changed. It's the Democrats who have gone bazooka mental disease on the left. So, but anyway, this Fox News, October 18th, 4:03 a.m. in the morning, posted. Arnold Schwarzenegger declares he's still a traditional Republican while the GOP has changed around him. And I'm here to tell you that's a flat out lie. And here's some points for you to consider. Now, obviously, every politician and every party and every group changes their tactics. This is not policy, not agenda, not the platform, but their tactics based on the changing times, right? I mean, for example, before there was cable news, there was only one like news cycle every day, right? And now there's just a continuing, never-ending news cycle on literally thousands of different types of platforms, and you're always having to keep up with that. So that's just an example of how your tactics and how you operate change with the times. But that doesn't mean that your agenda has changes. Uh, and also, I would add that today, Donald Trump deals with an insanely aggressive propagandist, fake news, legacy media that Ronald Reagan dealt with biased news. But 45 years ago, ABC and CBS, there was no CNN. So, well, actually, wait a minute. I think maybe CNN did come into play late in the game. Um, yeah, I got to think about that a minute. Cable news was brand. I forget when. I'm gonna have to look. I should have put that down in my notes. But for the most part, Ronald Reagan did not have to deal with the insanely crooked, corrupt fake news that Trump has to deal with. Therefore, Trump's tactics are different. He's very aggressive against those outlets because he has to be. Okay. But again, this is a matter of tactics and so forth. And let me also add, we are not talking about style. Not talking about style. Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump are two very different people. Ronald Reagan was the sort of old world, gentlemanly, sort of grandfatherly, well, well, I love Lady Liberty. Just an old fashioned, nice guy type. Trump is a businessman. He's a New York wheeler and dealer. And, let's face it, when he was younger, he was a bit of a playboy and, he was on Playboy magazine and he's sort of a rough, and he fight back. You hit me, I'm going to hit you twice. A little different style, but not policy. So let's talk about a few of these things. Uh, uh, let's talk about, for example, limited government. Now, maybe that was a bad one to lead off with because government has grown, and actually, that is one area that Trump. I think Trump is. It's hard to deal with a lot of things when you need the government to act on a lot of things and then shrink the government. I mean, and I'm talking about building up the military to deal with China, to deal with the Middle East. But generally speaking, the policies and the goals of limited government and economic growth through tax cuts and deregulation, a robust national defense, and cultural conservatism has not changed. We see Trump, for example, with this shutdown, he takes advantage of every opportunity he can to cut the size of government. He's actually the Democrats are causing the current shutdown, but Trump is certainly taking advantage of it to cut government spending and programs and personnel as much as he can until it comes back online. So, they do have the same goals. So let's talk about economic policy, tax cuts and deregulation. Both Reagan and Trump did prioritize and do prioritize supply side economics, which is emphasizing tax reductions to spur investment, job creation, and overall prosperity. So, if you remember, Ronald Reagan's Economic Recovery Tax Act of 1981 slashed the top marginal tax rate from 70 to 50% and later down to 20%. Similarly, Trump's tax cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 lowered the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21. Boy, that was really important. Corporate tax rate, I mean, that's who's producing the jobs, from 35% down to 21, and he reduced individual rates for Americans. So very similar there. Deregulation is another hallmark, right? Reagan dismantled regulations in industries like airlines and telecommunications and energy to unleash market forces, which also led to lower costs and innovation. Trump he did the same thing. He rolled back all the Obama environmental and financial rules through executive orders, easing restrictions on coal mining and banking to promote business freedom and reduce bureaucratic overreach. And both of those approaches, they underscore the consistent GOP belief that less government intervention fosters economic vitality. Well, how about foreign policy? National security, peace through strength. Ronald Reagan's doctrine of peace through strength involved a big military buildup to counter the Soviet Union, which was the big, bad guy on the block at the time, including the new SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative. And never forget how the left and the fake news media back then mocked him. They called it Star Wars, trying to mock the whole idea of protecting America from missiles. Now we adhere to it. Now we built, look, Iron Dome in Jerusalem, which was based on American technology, is a great example. Look, remember when Iran launched all those missiles, thousands of missiles, and Iron Dome obliterated pretty much all of them. That's awesome. That was Ronald Reagan's vision, and they mocked him for it. As usual, the fake news liars in the end get proven wrong. Unfortunately, it takes so long to do it. But anyway, that's Ronald Reagan. And Trump has adopted a similar posture, increasing defense spending by 100 billion annually, and emphasizing American military dominance to deter adversaries like China, which is the new bad guy on the block, and Iran, as I mentioned ago. Both Ronald Reagan and Trump have confronted authoritarian regimes. Reagan with the USSR, Trump with China, while prioritizing U.S. interests over multilateral entanglements when you see fit. Reagan's willingness to negotiate from strength, like the arms control talks with Gorbachev, for example, is the same as Trump's direct diplomacy, like summits with North Korea. And even on Trump, even though Trump is a little more protectionist with tariffs, people forget Ronald Reagan imposed quotas on Japanese imports and used tariffs to protect U.S. industry. So, that's another place where the fake news was, just wrong. So now, hey, let's talk about social and cultural issues. As I meant, the Republican Party under Reagan championed social issues like opposition to abortion, support for school prayer, tough on crime, and appealing to evangelical voters. Back then in the 80s, they were called the moral majority, if you remember that. Trump has done the same. He's appointed conservative Supreme Court justices who helped overturn Roe v. Wade. The abortion, since when I turned 18, I registered to vote. That was 1980, and my first election, I voted for Trump, and I have heard from that year throughout my entire adult life, overturn abortion, 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 and I agree it must be overturned. And Trump achieved it, right? Under Trump, Trump, it was Trump's Supreme Court justice picks. The fact that he was able to get 3 in on his first term, which is a phenomenal stroke of luck. That resulted in overturning Roe v. Wade. So he fulfilled a long time. That's a big deal. And also, like Reagan, Trump has been, promoting policies like protections for faith-based organization. Both of them talk about patriotism and the shining city on a hill. Trump's America first, and make America great again. A lot of people don't know actually was a phrase that was coined by Ronald Reagan. Although Reagan did not make America great again. He didn't make it the cornerstone of the slogan of his campaign, but he used it. So with Reagan, it's morning in America again. That was for his re-election in second term. But on immigration, Reagan, signed Immigration Reform Control Act, which unfortunately, back when Reagan was president, the Democrats had a total lock on Congress. It, did you know that, before the 90s, it was almost assumed that Democrats just control Congress and that's it. They always have and they always will. The last time the Republicans had the Congress was like in their 20s before World War One, way back when. And so, and so that was one of the things that Reagan unfortunately had to deal with. He could never push through policies 100% the way he wanted to. They always had to be chopped up and a little give and take with the Democrats because that was life back then before the Republicans took the Congress for the very first time in the 90s. Uh, and so Reagan tried to deal with immigration with the Immigration Reform and Control Act, but he tried. It wasn't that very good. Well, we know what Trump has done. Trump has just flat out sealed that southern border, and he is deporting illegal aliens as well he should. And that is a great thing. And so, they're both the same on that. Oh, how about the appeal to working Americans and Democrats? Well, we all remember, those of us who remember Ronald Reagan, remember the blue dog. Back then, they called them the Reagan Democrats or the blue dog Democrats. All the Democrats who voted for Reagan because they were working class people and Reagan appealed to them. Um, how soon have we forgotten when Donald Trump ran for his first term, all the Democrats who were crossing the line and voting for Trump, because they just working class Americans had no interest in Hillary. Trump is the businessman. And so, that happened under Trump's first term, and that fact has been completely swept under the rug. But now in his second term, even unions are coming out and saying the big unions did not support Kamala. They didn't go quite so far as to support Trump, but they did not endorse Kamala, and that's almost the next best thing. And all kinds of look at the polls. Young people are swinging to Trump. African Americans are swinging to Trump. All kinds of people are swinging to Trump that never happened before. And independents and the fake news media does not like to talk about this at all. But just look it up. Look it up. It's a fact. Well, I'm gonna get to when I say look it up. You have to try real hard to look it up because Google. Now, forgive me, I'm going off topic here for a second, but this is very important. I have noticed that Google is biased in a horrible way. We know that Google owns YouTube, or Google and YouTube are the same thing. We know that YouTube regular practice was to just ban videos that it didn't like and to literally ban people that it didn't like. They actually banned the president of the United States, Donald Trump. And Google is no different. If you search, look, I have searched for things on Google that I know 100% certitude are factual and are there, and I can't find them. If I do something like search for Democrat corruption, I'll get results talking about Republican corruption. Everything I ask for on Google, I get the opposite. So I've been telling you to look up some of these things, but if you look them up on Google, you might not find them. You need to be very specific when you search. So maybe I'll do my best to put in some links to some examples, but it's really a shame. Anyway, let me get back on topic. So, as I was saying, Reagan attracted the blue dog Democrats, and Trump did the same. He attracted Democrats, African Americans. They've all swung to Trump. Not well. Of course, most of those like African Americans still vote Democrat, but still, it was a pretty big number that shifted over, and so that's not. And hopefully, that is a trend that will keep going up. It's very important. Um, so as I said at the beginning, uh, uh, you know, the critics are these idiots like Arnold Schwarzenegger in this article. Um, they like to highlight style differences. Reagan's optimism, and versus Trump's confrontational tone, or policy nuances, not real policy difference, but little nuances like Trump's skepticism of NATO compared to Reagan's alliance building, and Trump just wanted them to pay the bill. Under Reagan, we were in a full-blown Cold War with a nuclear power, the Soviet Union, and Reagan probably figured, now is not the time to quibble over dollars when we've got 10,000 nuclear weapons pointed at us. So that's why I said the tactics change based on the circumstances of the time. I'm sure Ronald Reagan would have loved for NATO to foot more of the bill, but when your main adversary is the Soviet Union, and you're dealing with them one on one in these constant skirmishes and Cold War clashes going on, you tend to sort of let the bill sit on the back burner, right? But now, since the Soviet Union is gone and NATO really doesn't have any real mission, sure, this is a great time for the President of the United States to finally say, hey, you know what, NATO? By the way, it's time for you to start paying your damn bills. We pay, we covered for you throughout the entire Cold War. We won. Now, cough up. Cough up. You guys live a great life over there in Europe. It's time for you to pay for your own. Why should we be paying for that shit? But that's a whole other story. But so, when all is said and done, whether it's the social issues and abortion and so forth, whether it's economic issues through its, you know, economic growth through tax cut and deregulation, whether it's the policy of a robust military to deal with adversaries, there is no difference. There pretty much really is no difference between the Republican Party and the Republican Party platform of the 80s under Reagan and the Republican Party platform and policies today of Donald Trump. There is no difference. There is no difference. When you hear the liars on fake news saying, oh, the Republican Party has just gone extreme, that is a blatant lie. It is a lie. In fact, it is the Democrat Party that has gone kooky, nutty, and extreme, whether it's social issues like transgenderism and pronouns and DEI and CRT and all this filthy garbage, uh, and or whether it's their socialism. I mean, look, my God, New York is about to elect a full-blown freaking communist. And they're looking at AOC, the communist dim-witted bartender, as now a leader of the Democrat Party. Come on, man. No, the Republican Party has not changed. It is the Democrat Party that has veered way off into the extreme left. And because they are way off over on the extreme left, and they have dragged their friends in the fake news media with them, which is why fake news is now just, ABC, CBS, CNN, they're not even news anymore. So, of course, they sit way over there in extremist land, and they look at us normal people who are still back in normal land They look at us and say, we're the extremists. No, you are the extremists. But it is so typical of people like them to accuse others of that which they themselves are guilty of, right? And that's what the Democrats do all the time. They call us the racists, but in fact, they're the ones who play the race card, and they use race for division all the time to divide people because that's how they stay in power. You remember a while back there was the left tried to use this phrase called the war on women. Well, the left today allows men, degenerate, psychopathic, transgender men, to literally beat up women in women's sports, and men to be in women's locker rooms, including your daughter's locker room at school. So who is really waging the war on women? You know what I'm saying? Again, it's one of those things where they accuse others of that which they themselves are guilty of. And you got to love the one where they say, Democrat, Republicans are going to destroy democracy. I mean, come on. Republicans are repairing. It was Biden who brought us to the precipice of totalitarianism, and the Democrats today are still trying to do it, and it was Trump who's trying to fix everything that they broke. So anyway, so I just debunked Arnold Schwarzenegger's ignorant stupidity, that he is still a traditional Republican, and that the Republican Party has moved way off to the right. What that man, he, I mean, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies, but politically he's an idiot and a moron. And but when he says that, all he's doing is spewing out the talking points of the left. The talking points of the left and a few disgruntled assholes like what's her name? Uh, what's her name? The woman who got booted out of the Republican Party, uh, Cheney, yeah, Liz Cheney. What an asshole! She literally sucked. You talk about destroying democracy. That January 6th was a protest. Was not There was no insurrection. That is a giant lie. And for her to jump on board with that giant lie and the enemies of freedom, the Democrats, and to accuse Trump of causing that sealed her fate. Now, what I still would want, I'm sorry, I'm going off topic. We're going to save that for another day. I cannot fathom what could have caused her, who seemed like an otherwise, intelligent person. I used to watch her on Fox News Sunday. She used to be a regular on Fox News Sunday, and what caused her brain to go haywire, I have no idea. But she ended up being a rhino globalist, just a Democrat wearing a Republican suit, and that's all she is. And so, but anyway, that's a wrap, folks. Please like and share our videos. I would really appreciate it. Please subscribe. I really appreciate it. I have a Substack page where I post articles and the videos. Please subscribe. It's free. And also, if you go to our Rumble page, that's where just all the videos are. And please subscribe. It's free. And remember our theme, the ongoing theme through the midterm elections and then, of course, the 2028 elections. Stay the course. Stay the course. Trump is breaking new, fresh ground, and it's causing upheavals, but he is doing things that need to be done, and and sometimes they cause disruptions. It's like it's like a heroin addict. You know, a heroin addict says he wants to quit heroin. That's fine, but for a few days he goes through hell, throwing up and puking and all that. That's what's happening now. Previous Republican presidents just merely tinkered around the edge, made a little tweak here and a little tweak there, put a little band-aid on here, a little band-aid on there, but never actually tried to fix the problems. They just kind of wanted to keep the status quo going. Trump has taken the patient into the operating room and is now doing surgery. And so, yes, the we're on the breathing tube, and the thing's beeping in the background, and there's disruption going on, but that's because he needs to do these things. And whenever there's disruption, people get all wobbly. Oh, what's he doing? Oh, I didn't vote for this. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, the market dropped yesterday. Settle down. Stay the course. Stay the course. Imagine you're a soldier landing on Omaha Beach on D-Day in World War II. Imagine if you saw all that and you're like, holy crap, I didn't sign up for this. And you turn around and you swam back to the ship. No, now is the crucial moment when you must stay the course. And not only that, you must put forth twice as much effort in the 2026 midterms to elect more Republicans as you did in 2024 to elect Trump. Usually midterms are kind of, people are not interested and they kind of kick back. No, we have to do the opposite. We have to do the opposite of what is historically done. We need to come out in full force and elect more Republicans to help Trump finish his agenda. And then in 2028, we need to elect another MAGA president to continue on the policy of putting America first and making America great again. You cannot elect another Democrat. The Democrats have proven that they're the enemy. They are the enemy. They are out in the street attacking law enforcement. When Elon Musk was exposing corruption, they were literally burning down his factories. BLM, let's not forget how BLM was out killing cops. Let's not forget that Antifa is out beating people up in the streets. The Democrats, totalitarian fascist mobs are out doing their violence in the streets. And meanwhile, the Democrat politicians are trying to impose socialism, and in New York, even communism. They're trying to destroy. You cannot elect them again. You cannot allow them to win. You are now, my fellow conservatives, are now in a civil war, and you have been conscripted and drafted, and you have no choice. You losing and failure are not options. We must stay the course. Trust Trump. Trump has kept more promises and done more than any Republican president before. I mean, that includes Reagan. I love Reagan. Hey, I love Ronald Reagan. I'm a huge fan. But I have to say that Trump has accomplished more. He has accomplished more and exposed more corruption than Ronald Reagan did. And that's not a ding against Reagan. Reagan was a great president, and he had the Soviet Union and the Cold War to deal with, and that was very consuming for every president. But Trump has done more. So trust Trump, stay the course, get Republicans reelected get more Republicans elected into Congress in 2026, And I don't know, whoever's going to replace Trump, we got to elect him. Will it be Marco Rubio? Will it be JD Vance? Or will we go outside the administration and take a second look at DeSantis? Will it be somebody new? Who knows? But I kind of like Rubio. He's looking kind of good these days, man. Rubio is, I think that for years Rubio was stuck in the Senate where they have a certain way of behaving, and I think it sort of stifled him. I think now being the Secretary of State and working with Trump has sort of energized him, and he's able to he has sort of shaken off all the sort of proprieties and shackles that you have on you when you're a senator, and now he's able to really do something, and it's showing in his very aggressive approach to implementing Trump's policies and the things he says and the things he's doing. He's a play. He'd make a great president. I might not have said that a few years ago, but I think he would be really good. So we'll see. Anyway, like I said, like all of our stuff, like our sites, subscribe, share our videos, and I will see you again in the next great American video. Adios, muchachos.